What if what you want most is actually what you're most afraid of? Most people in life, they want success. They want to achieve all their goals, but they're terrified of it. And what if I was to tell you the reason why you're not successful where you want to be right now is because you're terrified of it? Would you agree with that? Or would you say, nah, Mikey, what are you talking about? I can't wait to be successful. I just need to have the right resources and the right support, and I'll get there. Well, we're going to cover all that in this video and why we are really holding ourselves back from becoming successful because of two things. We'll find that out in this episode. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Gentle Mentor podcast. I'm Mikey, your Gentle Mentor. And I really think this topic that we're speaking about today is so interesting and the most important step in becoming successful. And it's realizing the roadblock that stops us all. And those two things that stop us is we're so scared of taking risks and we're so scared of failing. Think about it. All of the goals, all of the dreams that you've had, all of the things that you wanted to do in your life, the thing that's probably slowed you down, because I know it slowed me down, is, what if I do it and I stuff up and I fail? You maybe never admitted it to other people, but I'm sure these are the conversations you've had with yourself in bed before you go to sleep, and you're sitting down and contemplating about what you want to achieve, right? You're just so scared of making that mistake. And it's so normal, guys. It's normal because this was ingrained in us since we were little kids. So at school, whenever we put our hand up and we maybe said the wrong thing, we would get reprimanded for it. Maybe the class would laugh, or maybe our teachers would be like, oh, nah, that's not right. Does anyone else have an idea? Or what about like when we're doing an exam or a test or something? And, there's only one outcome that we want out of that exam and test. And that's, we just want to pass. We don't want to fail. And if we did fail, and you come home, do you remember those days? You come home and your parents are like, oh, how'd you go on your test? And you're like, I failed. Do they sit there and say, you know what, well done, you gave it a good go? I mean, I hope most parents would say that, but majority of the time, our parents would be like, no, that's it. You got to study harder. You got to try harder next time. Come on, you need to pass. You need to have better grades. And even when we sit down and talk to our teachers about it, they give us guilt trips, right? And they're like, okay, next time I need you to study harder. Same answer from both people. Because we were designed and programmed from a young age that passing is success, failure is failure, right? Not passing is failure. And the only option is to pass. So no wonder why in our adult years we are terrified of failing. And that's the really tough thing about school. School did not design us or program us to be successful entrepreneurs. It was programming us to become employees in a factory. Think about it. We had to get to school at a certain time. We had to do what we were told. We have a break when they say we have a break. We come back and study and back at school when the bell goes again. And we have these exams that we have to pass. And if we fail, well, we get reprimanded. When really life isn't like that at all. Most entrepreneurs will tell you that failure is what leads to success. And you would probably be like, what are you talking about? It sounds so counterintuitive, but it's true. Right? Think about the Post-it note, okay? This is something that you and me use at least half a dozen or a dozen times in our life. All right. And if we're studying, we're probably using it every day. So everyone's using a Post-it note. Remember the sticky notes, the thing that you put on your computer or on a wall to remind you about something, right? Everyone uses it. But if I was to tell you that the Post-it note or the sticky note was actually a failure to begin with, but if I was to tell you that that Post-it note makes $300 million a year, and actually create 30 billion post-it notes a year. So that is a multi-billion-dollar business. But it was a failure. And that failure turned into a success. Basically, one man called Spencer Silva, he came up with this idea. He was a scientist. He wanted to create a glue that would never ever be able to be taken off, like super glue basically. You stick something to it and you would never be able to take it off. And he kept on trying to create this glue, and it never worked. No matter how hard he tried, it was always being able to take it off. It wasn't strong enough. And then another guy was like, hey, hold on a minute, Spencer. I reckon we're onto something. What if we used it to be an adhesive and we can take it off? So we make a little sticky note. People can write down what they want to be reminded of, stick it on something, they get reminded, they then take it off, get a new piece of paper, and they have to be reminded about something else. They're not going to be needing to read the same thing for the rest of their life. We get different thoughts, different ideas. So this is going to work. Let's do this. Now, if that second guy didn't come up with that idea, and if he didn't try to look at what they learned from that failure, Spencer Silva would have thought that he's a failure and he wouldn't be a multi-billionaire. So this is the lesson that we can learn from how failure is so important as a part of success, guys. And it's actually really sad, because it's actually the main reason why people don't even begin to achieve their goals and don't even begin their road to success. Because if I was to ask you, think about anything that you've wanted to do in your life, any goal, any dream, whatever it may be. It could be getting fit and healthy, losing weight. It could be getting really, really good at a sport, or, going into your career that you want to get into, or walking up to a person and asking them out on a date, right? Or even getting really good at a video game or something like that. And if you wanted that to be, say, almost what you're known for, or a profession, you can't really professionally go out on dates, but you get what I mean with these other little topics that I brought up. If you wanted to be well known by that, what stopped you from doing that? Maybe if you wanted to get fit and healthy, you're like, I need to have the best program, I need to be having the best diet, and I got to stick to it. And then, you get the gym, you get your gym clothes, you start eating healthy, and then after 5 days, you're over the gym, you can't be bothered anymore, you're over the healthy eating, and you stop, and you go back to junk food. And then instead of saying, okay, I just had a little bit of a relapse, I'm going to go back to the gym again and continue with my program and continue with my healthy eating, you give up and you're like, nah, I can't do it. Gym's not for me. I'm just going to be happy with the way I look and just settle, basically. But guys, if you kept on going with your training, and when you had a bad day of eating, you had a bad day of eating, or even create cheat days so you can look forward to that day to have your junk, and that's what can get you through the next 3 days of eating veggies and rice and meat, then you would actually start seeing results and you would continue with your training. It's no different in life, guys. We are so scared of achieving our goals because we're so scared of failing. And like we mentioned at the start of the video, it's because of the way we were brought up. But if we change the way we think, and we actually change the way we view success, guys, we can achieve any goal. And if we look at the example of Spencer Silva with the poster note, some of those failures can end up being the best things that happen to us. I know me, I have issues with depression, right? When I go through depressive spells, I reflect heaps and I think a lot. And I hate being depressed. But every time I come out of it, I've learnt something in that really low period of time that I was in. Like, I know when my little girl passed away, the hardest thing that I ever had to deal with, that taught me how to appreciate life and how to really be grateful for everything we have around us, because it can be taken away from us in a second, right? So sometimes those negative times that we go through in life and the failures, not sometimes, all the time, we can find a positive out of that and learn from it and become successful. Most billionaires have failed so many times, like I mentioned, in order to be where they're at. I remember one of my cousins, right? He wanted to open up a watch business. He loves watches, right? And he said to me, I want to start selling watches at markets and online, but I just want to do it for fun. And I said to him, all right, let's make you a logo. Let's make you a social media page, and let's get your presence on social media and really start launching this. And he goes to me, oh, Mikey, why can't you just do things, like small? Why do you always have to go big? And I knew by him saying that, what he really meant to say is, Mikey, I'm so scared of failing at this business and having my friends and family say, I knew you couldn't do it. So he wants to make it smaller so that if he did fail, it was a smaller failure, opposed to putting all this effort, and then if it failed, he would feel really bad about himself, which is so normal, guys. Who wants to feel bad about themselves and feel like they've failed at something they really like? So anyway, I didn't listen to him. I made a logo for him, and I basically was on our first market that we went to, where he was selling his watches. I was recording all this content, right? And he even said to me, he's like, don't record content. I don't want to record this content stuff because it's going to put pressure on me. But I did it anyway. And then at the end of the day, when the market was done, and it was an awesome day, he sold like 14 watches. I created a bit of a reel, I created a montage of that video with the logo, with, his first experience of being at a market, how successful it was. When he watched it, he was like, man, I'm so happy that you did this because I can actually see the results. But if I listened to that inner critic in his head, I wouldn't have done that. And if he listened to it, he wouldn't have even went to the market. So this is what I'm trying to say, guys. If we want to achieve our goals, we need to be ready for failure and risk. And we need to start reframing failure and risks as negative things and look at them as the journey of us getting to our success. Without failure and risk, there's no post-it note. There's no billion-dollar business. So always remember that when you want to achieve your goals. There's going to be falls, there's going to be battles, there's going to be hurdles. If there isn't, well, we're not on the right track then. With every failure comes success. And the more you fail, guys, the more you will learn. And you should get excited when you do fail and be like, wow, I'm getting one step closer to success because of the failure or, the risks that I've taken. So I hope you got a lot out of this video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And I'm looking forward to catching up with you in the next one.